Okay, thank you very much everyone for joining this webinar. My name is Syed Tahir Asnan. I am with IATA. I am responsible for Cargo-XML Messages. And as I said earlier, Carol Duron from Air France KLM, who is the product owner for electronic messaging in Air France KLM, he will be joining me in this webinar to share his implementation experience. Purpose of this webinar is to share with you the updated status of Cargo-XML Standards, what are the tools available that can support the implementation, and what are the strategies to migrate from Cargo-IMP to Cargo-XML. I noticed most of the participants in this webinar, they are relatively new to the IATA business processes. So I'll start with one slide, how we develop the global standard. So those who can see this desktop, they can clearly see that in IATA, standards are actually developed using the industry groups. So these industry groups are comprised of airlines, freight forwarders, ground handlers, shippers, IT service providers. They get together, they develop the standards, then need to devise some solutions. In case of XML, we need to develop the schema, then we need to do some pilot testing. Once the industry group is comfortable, then we take it up further to the different industry bodies for endorsement. And then it is delivered to the industry. IATA provide, with the help of industry group, provide support for the implementation of that standard. These standards are delivered using certain publications. Also, IT service providers, they play key role. On top of that, to facilitate the implementation of the standards, IATA offers training. There is communication and also advocacy. This is the standard life cycle for developing the global standards in IATA. This is not only applicable to Cargo-XML standards, but all different kind of standards developed by IATA or its industry groups. So Cargo-XML standards. Cargo-XML standards are developed as per the industry messaging strategy. IATA industry groups, mainly the Cargo Services Conference, which comprised of 80 plus airlines, has decided to discontinue Cargo-IMP manual and focus on the Cargo-XML standards development. What does this mean? It means IATA is not producing any more Cargo-IMP messages, and IATA is not enhancing any existing Cargo-IMP message. All developments regarding messaging standards, they are done in Cargo-XML standards. New messages are only developed in Cargo-XML standards. This is effective 2015. Last and final edition of Cargo-IMP manual was produced in 2015, 34th edition. And we have Cargo-XML manual and toolkit, in which we publish Cargo-XML messages. We have the 5th edition as the latest edition. As I mentioned in the beginning, messaging standards or any other standard, they are developed with the help of a group. So for Cargo-XML standards, we also have the messaging working group, and on this slide you can see a number of members of messaging working group. You can see we have the airlines, Cathay Pacific, Lufthansa, Delta, American, Swiss, Air Canada, United, British Airways. Lufthansa is the chairman of this working group. Also, we have freight forwarders, Panalpina, Shankar, Kunenagel, and also some ground handlers. Alha Airport, they are part of this messaging working group. What is the latest status of Cargo-XML messages? So far we have developed 18 Cargo-XML messages. On this slide you can see on the left hand side the transport messages, airway bill message, house airway bill message, house manifest, flight manifest, freight booked list, status message, response message, booking message, custom status notification message, shipper declaration of dangerous goods, generic request, rate information, ULD control receipt, and I believe last one it is ULD manifest message. I will change the slide to reflect the last message correctly before I distribute this supporting material with you. And on the right hand side you can see some commercial messages, invoice, packing list, certificate of origin, and shipper letter of instruction. So here the question then comes, in the Cargo-IMP standard we have 78 messages, and in Cargo-XML we have only 18 messages. How can we say that Cargo-IMP is going to be replaced by Cargo-XML only when we have only 18 Cargo-XML messages? There is a reason behind this. In Cargo-XML, it is not just replication of Cargo-IMP messages, but it provides the enhanced functionality. If I give you an example, generic request message, we have one message which covers the functionality of 7-8 Cargo-IMP messages. For example, in Cargo-IMP we have a separate message to request the airway bill, another message to request the FBL, but in Cargo-XML one message covers the functionality of all different request messages in Cargo-IMP. So this philosophy is applicable to rest of the messages. Airway bill message could be used not only to create an airway bill, but to update or delete an existing airway bill. So Cargo-XML messages are multi-purpose. Another question which is often asked is, what is the difference between Cargo-IMP and the Cargo-XML? There are a number of differences, but in this slide we are capturing some of the differences. On the left hand side you will see the features, and then next to it you will see the Cargo-IMP capability and the Cargo-XML capability. Character set. Cargo-IMP character set, it is limited to ASCII 7-bit. However, Cargo-XML support extended character set. If I give you an example, right now it is not possible to exchange the email address because of ampersand sign was not supported in the limited ASCII 7-bit character set. However, Cargo-XML does support. In order for the transition period when both IMP and XML exist, we are suggesting that for both Cargo-IMP and Cargo-XML you support the ASCII 7-bit character set. Another feature is limitations of size. Cargo-IMP field size is limited to 65 characters and the total message size is limited to 3,500 characters. In Cargo-XML, this limit is not there, unlimited length. Though we do have the length recommendation to support this transition between from IMP to XML. Scope of the messages, Cargo-IMP, they are limited to airport only. However, Cargo-XML, they are intended to cover entire supply chain. Then there are some other differences. Occurrence is limited in Cargo-IMP. Cargo-XML, it is unlimited. Message structure in Cargo-IMP is constraints. However, Cargo-XML, there are no constraints. It's quite flexible. Data types, we have limited data types in IMP. XML, we have extended data types. Generally, Cargo-IMP, they used to be exchanged on the private network. Now, Cargo-XML, it supports all public internet-based communication protocols. There was platform dependency in Cargo-IMP. In XML, it's not. Data quality, we always have challenges in Cargo-IMP. However, XML, with the help of schema, gives us an extra layer to improve the data quality. Error handling in Cargo-IMP, it was cumbersome. However, in Cargo-XML, it is improved. Data validation is available in Cargo-XML, but not in Cargo-IMP. Also, another big benefit of Cargo-XML is these are compatible with the UNC FACT standards, which makes these messages multimodal and cross-border. So when it comes to the exchange between air and sea or air or road or any other mode of transport, we are quite compatible. Okay, so this was the latest status and we saw comparison of between Cargo-IMP and Cargo-XML. Now it's very important that how do these XML standards are delivered to the industry. IATA is using a very interactive approach and very innovative, focused on industry efficiency, facilitate adoption, allow compliance with regulation and advocacy of our standard. So Cargo-XML initiative has different dimensions: publications, tool, training, consultancy, IT, service providers, and advanced electronic information advocacy. Now let's look at the first one, which is Cargo-XML manual and toolkit. Cargo-XML standards, they are published in the Cargo-XML manual and toolkit. So what it contains the messages specifications, schema, business rules, layout, physical layouts and examples of messages, mapping with Cargo-IMP, with World Customs Organization data model and UN Trade Data Element Directory. This toolkit also contains Cargo-IMP manual. Also, there is a download section in which there are a number of documents available for download, such as white papers, conversion guidelines. Also, this toolkit has frequently asked question section as well as the code list. I will be giving you a quick demo of the toolkit in a bit. Or maybe I can give you a quick demo right away. Okay, on my screen you can see Cargo-XML manual and toolkit 5th edition. Ben, if you could confirm, drop me a message if you can see my screen. with the Cargo-XML manual and Toolkit 5th edition. Thank you, Ben. I got your message. By the way, guys, Ben is my colleague who is helping me with the Cargo-XML standards. So here is this toolkit comes on a CD or through web download. You can see a number of tabs on the top: Home, Introduction. In the Introduction section, you will see the release notes of each release, approach used to develop the standard, journal information, business rules, conversion guidelines, OCI composition rules, some white papers, mail and cargo messaging synchronization. Next is the XML Messages, which is a key for this toolkit. I am just showing you the XFWB message. You can select it from the drop-down list. You can select the appropriate version of the message. And in the right-hand side, you will see the message specification. In message specification, you can see message definition, message samples, message history, and the definitions of data elements. And on the left hand side, you can see the schema examples. Right hand side is mainly for the business experts, while left hand side, the schema example, it is mainly for the developers and the IT experts who are going to actually implement these standards. Each data element is linked with its equivalent schema element. For example, airway bill number. As a business expert, I would like to see, okay, airway bill number is mandatory, length recommendation is 12, description is here, there is an example as well. It has a link with the UN Trade Data Element Directory, with WCO data model. It has a link with the Cargo-IMP data element, and also it has a link with the airway bill box. So being a IT expert, I would like to see which data element it belongs to in the schema. So I click on the airway bill, it takes me to the equivalent element in the schema and vice versa. And then on the top, it shows me the path of the data element for both. We have the layout of the airway bill published. We have the layout example. And in the example, this is a completed example, and if you want to see for example, company name, shipper company name, you click on the shipper company name and you can see which data element. If you want to see country name, then you can see the country name here. So this is how the specification is published. Next element is the Cargo-XML scorecard. As the name indicates, it shows you the capability. This is limited to the Cargo-XML task force member, the messaging working group. Here we can see Air Canada is live with XFWB, XFZB, and so on and so forth. So this gives us an overall view of the messaging working group, their adoption of Cargo-XML standard. But if someone would like to go in detail, they can click on Air Canada and then they can see further details, which message version, what is the capability, transmit or receive or both, and some other information. And same is applicable for any messaging working group member. Then we have the code list. All the code lists, they are defined in here. Cargo-IMP manual is available in here. You can download the previous versions of the previous editions of the Cargo-IMP manual and the latest one. And then this is the download section. Okay, we move back to the PowerPoint. Let me see if you can still see the PowerPoint. Yeah, you can see. Okay, next is the Cargo-XML AutoCheck. As I said in the beginning, with the messaging standard delivery, we are also providing some tools that can help to facilitate the Cargo-XML implementation. So Cargo-XML AutoCheck portal, it's an online service. It's available free of charge to the industry. You need to register it once, and then you can upload your sample message. You can select the IATA standard, airway bill, house airway bill, and you can quickly do some validation of your messages. This AutoCheck portal is available online. If you write Cargo-XML AutoCheck portal, you can visit the website. I can quickly give you a demo of the portal. So you need to register. Once you register, you get login and password. Then you click on login. And what you need to do is you just need to choose your file. For example, XFFM sample. You click open and then you say load file. Now your flight manifest sample is here. You would like to validate it with the XFFM. You select the XFFM and then you click on AutoCheck, and then you can see the result here. There is no error. If there is any error, you click here and then you can see the error itself. So it is very good tool for testing purpose. Moving further, IATA is also providing a Cargo-XML training course, in-company training, classroom training. Details are available. My colleagues in training department are managing this. IT service providers. We believe development of the adoption of the Cargo-XML standard is very much dependent on IT companies. Because in air cargo, most of the airlines, freight forwarders, ground handlers, they use the third-party IT systems. So this is the list of IT companies who have required Cargo-XML standards, and either they have developed the standard in their system or in process of doing so. Also, we have seen a lot of interest from customs about the Cargo-XML standard. These are the customs who have required Cargo-XML standard. Some of them are already live, others they are doing some pilots, and a few are planning to implement. Then next, coming to the topic, migration to Cargo-XML. When it comes to the implementation of Cargo-XML standard, there are some common questions from the industry. The most popular question is, okay, let's say I am going to implement Cargo-XML standard. How do I support my partner who continue to use Cargo-IMP standard? Can I do it or I cannot? Second question, do I need to update my cargo or logistics system to support Cargo-XML? To what extent Cargo-XML and Cargo-IMP are compatible? Am I going to lose the data? And another question is, what is the impact of big size Cargo-XML message on the bandwidth of my network? So these are some of the questions which are oftenly asked by the industry. So there are some migration fundamentals that adoption or migration to Cargo XML is highly dependent on your business partner system and also your own system. So implementation strategy, it plays a very key role in adoption of Cargo XML standard. And in next couple of minutes, we are now going to discuss different implementation strategies. Generally, there are two types of Cargo XML implementation. Number one, the direct Cargo XML implementation, where both sender and recipient exchange Cargo XML messages. This is rare. We know industry is heavily dependent on the Cargo-IMP messages, but there are cases that this will happen, or ultimately we will get to this one. And the second one is the transformation between IMP and XML. So in this transformation, either sender is converting or recipient is converting from one format to another. And this transformation is applicable when you are migrating from IMP to XML, or you are supporting a partner that uses a different standard than yours. There are two models. Model number one is communication with the Cargo-IMP partner, and the model number two is communication with the Cargo XML partner. So let's talk about the first model. Let's say you have Cargo XML standard, and there are some cases where you need to connect and exchange information with your Cargo-IMP partner. In that case, you need to have a conversion in place. And if you have Cargo-IMP and your partner is Cargo-IMP, you can straight away transmit the Cargo-IMP. Some of you will be surprised if I have Cargo-XML, then why I need to convert it to the Cargo-IMP, but we will discuss this case with some use cases in a while. Second model is the communication with your Cargo XML partner. So let's say your partner only supports Cargo XML. In this case, either you have Cargo XML, or if you are having Cargo-IMP, then you need to convert into Cargo XML and you need to transmit Cargo XML standard. Overall, these two models, they could be covered through three different scenarios. Scenario 1 is depicted on the slide. So the first scenario is your system supports both Cargo-IMP and Cargo XML standard. In this case, you will send IMP to the Cargo-IMP recipient and you will send Cargo XML to the Cargo XML recipient, in case your system is supporting both the standards. Now there is another scenario where your system supports Cargo-IMP standard only, and you need to communicate with the Cargo-IMP and Cargo XML recipient. In this case, you need to have a conversion in between that will take your Cargo-IMP message, and then it will do the appropriate conversion and it will communicate Cargo-IMP message to the Cargo-IMP recipient, and it will communicate Cargo XML message to your Cargo XML recipient. I think some of you will say, if Cargo-IMP is the source and Cargo-IMP is the destination, then why we need conversion? Conversion is not new. It has been happening since the beginning of the messaging. We do need conversion. If I have FWB 16, my partner is only supporting 9, so this conversion happens. So this conversion could be in-house, or it could be through your messaging partner or any third party. And what we have done is, to support this conversion, we have drafted detailed conversion guidelines for each message. So another scenario is your system supports Cargo-XML Standards only. Again, you need a conversion, and then using this converter, you can communicate with your Cargo-IMP partner and with your Cargo-XML partner. So these are the different scenarios which you could be in one of these scenarios, or could be more than one scenarios are applicable to you. And how IATA is supporting this transition? IATA has published the conversion guidelines between IMP and XML. Earlier I have shown you the toolkit. I am going to open it one more time. And here we will see with the XFWB message, we have conversion guidelines. So in this section, there are complete conversion guidelines between FWB to XFWB, and also from XFWB to the FWB. These are defined in detail. So same as for all of the messages, all of the core transport messages, conversion guidelines are defined by the messaging group, and these conversion guidelines are also available in the introduction section. Section 4, all these guidelines are published here in detail. Also, we have defined data length recommendation for Cargo-XML to support the industry migration. You will see each data element in the Cargo-XML, there is a data length recommendation. There is a attribute qualifier with each element, what is the recommended data length. The schema itself does not define the data length. Recommendations are only defined in the specification. Then IATA has published some white papers to support the implementation. These white papers are available on the IATA website, as well as these are published in the Cargo-XML manual and toolkit. So these white papers, they define the various benefits, adoption, and different implementation strategies. All what I have defined you is already available in these white papers. And an interesting thing is, these white papers define some case studies. For example, DGF, how they have implemented. Also, there is Kunenagel, how they have implemented for the custom filing, and also example of Argentina custom. So these are quite useful. And there is another white paper on the digital connectivity for those players who are new to the air cargo. They can understand how the messaging is done in the air cargo industry, host to host plus via CCS provider. So these white papers are also available on the website as well as in the toolkit. and also mapping between Cargo-IMP and Cargo-XML. It plays a very important role, and I have shown you already how this mapping is available in the toolkit. Each data element. Also, when we did the conversion between Cargo-IMP and Cargo-XML, we kept the following 8 elements in mind: character set, field length, field occurrence, structure, semantic, field existence, and data types, and the message split. And all of these is available in the toolkit. So that was my part. Now what I would like to invite Carol to share his implementation experience in Air France KLM. I am going to unmute you guys for a while.
The conference has been unmuted.
Carol, are you there?
Yes, okay. I hope you can hear me. Yes.
Yeah, I can hear you well, and there is someone else speaking. I would request you guys to mute your phone so that we all can hear Carol. Carol, go ahead.
Okay. At Air France KLM, we wanted to adopt the XML message some 1.5 years ago. And you were talking about different scenarios, exchanging data with external partners, but we also face the same problem internally, where we want to use the functionality of XML. In some systems, there are some other systems that are not capable to follow or that are too expensive to change. So what we chose was a scenario in which we invest in converters both ways. Any message that comes in, either Cargo-IMP or XML, is converted into the latest available XML version and published as such. But then on the outside, to other internal systems or to other partners, we can convert it back into any format that is requested. So that's what we invest in.
And Carol, my question.
Yes, please.
Sorry, my question to you is: in order to start with, could you tell us if you implemented all of these 18 messages at once, or you went with the phase approach, and which messages you selected and how?
Yes, we started with the XFWB, quickly followed by the XFZB and the XFSU. Of course, these are the messages that are exchanged between our customers and us. Mm-hmm. So that's the most important for us. Of course, also the XFNM, which is the FNA, FMA, the acknowledgement of a message. Mm-hmm. And then we went on with messages that are important in communication with GHAs and other partners, like the FFM. And currently we are busy with the FPL. So we are still en route. We do not have all the messages, and we are happy with also IATA, who does not have all the messages yet, but IATA is always a bit ahead of us. So the messages that we need are already described in XML. And that is important that we have an industry standard.
Mm-hmm. So when you were implementing these messages, XFWB and XFZB, so what were the different resources you were consulting?
Of course, the toolkit is indispensable. That is the main part that helps us. And as you showed, it has both the technical schema and the functional descriptions. For a functional analyst, this is very important. And a functional analyst used to read Cargo-IMP messages will have to adapt. The XML message is much more difficult to read.
Mm-hmm.
I have a lot of noise on the line.
Okay, let me, can I request you please mute your phones that we can avoid the disturbance.
So the toolkit has different parts. The functional analyst needs to have the toolkit and needs to have it to learn to cope with XML messages. The technical developer does not specifically need it because out of the toolkit you can extract, download the schema, which is perfect for a developer.
Okay.
Then the download section also contains samples of XML messages. When you start working on Converter, those samples are very important. So, Tahir, please add more samples of more messages.
Okay.
For a starter, that is very nice to have. And then what you showed also is the AutoCheck. That is really nice. When you build your first XML, you run it through the AutoCheck and it immediately tells you where you made errors. And the final resource that I want to mention, that is Tahir. Tahir is always available for questions. So that's very valid in the process of learning to convert.
So when Carol is mentioning me, so he is actually referring to the messaging working group. I am the secretary for that group. So whenever there is any question is raised, then I consult with the group and then we address the question. Yes. So Carol, what was the most challenging part in your implementation? I believe the first message implementation.
Well, I must say, once you get used to it, the conversion between XML and Cargo-IMP and vice versa is not that difficult. You are very much helped with the conversion guidelines. If there is a discrepancy between the formats, then there will be something in the conversion guidelines that helps you finding it out. Issues may come and start now to appear if you use the functionality of the XML that is not in Cargo-IMP, so you're not able to convert it back to Cargo-IMP. And in future we will see that more and more. But the first implementation is not that difficult. More difficulty we had was choosing the channel because for XML you have more possibilities like SOAP over HTML, but also we consider FTP or SMTP, multiple channels to build bridges with partners, and that is kind of an uncharted territory, although there is a white paper about it. But there is a lot of work to do in the industry. And one thing I could say is the base of the IATA message is asynchronous. These are asynchronous messages. As soon as we start to talk with partners about XML message, they request synchronous messaging. And that is still difficult because of our systems who are not geared towards a direct reply. So that is something we have to figure out in time as well. When can we do asynchronous, when can we do synchronous messages?
Yeah, I think this is very important point you mentioned. So during this transition period, we have to deal with it somehow. When some systems they are synchronous while others they are asynchronous. so we need we need to kind of support both during this transition period, but ultimately it will be or it should be synchronous communication. Okay, Carol, any other important point, and then I suggest we open the forum for questions from others. And I would suggest that those who are connected online, please type your message in the chat box. So Carol and I, we will answer these questions one by one. So Carol, any last point which you want, any recommendation for the group?
No, I think it's good to answer some questions if there are.
Okay, I will just check in the chat box if there are any questions.
No.
So one question from Socrates: do we have access to this Cargo-XML AutoCheck portal? Yes, it is available free. You need to register. You go on the Cargo-XML AutoCheck portal website, click on registration, and then you will receive a login password, and then you can validate your messages. Arun is asking about the PowerPoint. Yes, you will be receiving all this supporting material. Then there is some discussion about the toolkit price, but we are not allowed to have that discussion here. You need to contact the IATA publication team based in Montreal, Nicolas Carloni, for that. Okay, we have a very interesting question from Stephen Knoll, that which features of the XML messages make them multimodal, and have we checked with other industry groups like IRU or customs or others? So Stephen, yes, I am going to share my screen, and I am going to show you how these messages are multimodal. In the XML messages, for example, XFWB message, I will share you the flight segment. So in Cargo-IMP, we were just having one field, cargo flight number and date. Now here, if we see for that one field, we have around 8 or 9 fields. One field, mode of transport qualifier. It is carriage, on carriage, main carriage, mode of transport code, and code from the UNC effect. That 4 is for air. If this message, this shipment is on a truck, then there will be a different mode here, and then mode of transport name. Since 4 is for air, if it is 3, then it will be truck here, and means of transport ID. So normally our flight number, they are for 7, but we have 35 to accommodate the number or the ferry number. and then we have the means of transport name. So we need not to consult directly other agencies, because UNC Effect core component library is already developed by consulting UPU, WCO, and rail and all other modes of transport. So we are compatible with the other modes of transport. I hope this answers your question. We have a question from Ara. One of our challenge which seems to remain the same from Cargo-IMP is the fact that is the need for us to figure out when the bulk of messages are completed. Carol, do you understand the question?
Not totally. When the bulk is completed?
Maybe Arak, you can explain. Then another question from Socrates. My question is, how often do we need to change our schema? We have developed using last year Cargo-XML Toolkit. Are we obsolete already? Carol?
Yes. Well, I guess something similar will happen as with the Cargo-IMP, who had also every year a new release and regularly new versions. In the past year, there is one adaptation for the XFSU that indeed required us to change the schema. And I must say that the whole bunch of CXML is not yet 100% ideal. So we can expect some modifications in the coming years. I'm afraid that is live.
Yeah, that is correct. Carol, you are absolutely right. Version change will always happen, and we have defined the version management rules in the toolkit. And what happened is the business requirements, regulatory requirements keep on changing, and in order to accommodate that, we do need to produce the new versions of the messages. However, so far with the Cargo XML, we haven't produced many versions. Although we produce the toolkit 5th edition, we keep on adding examples, we keep on adding the conversion rules, but the message schema, for example XFWB, we produced first version 5 years back, even more, and still we have the same version. We call it XFWB version 3, and it remains the same. Same for the other messages. And also, every year when we produce the new edition of Toolkit, it's better to have a look into the release notes if there is any change in the schema. Then the next question from Rodovan how is the capability of particular companies in using of Cargo-XML examined? Right now, it is not done. However, IATA, with the help of messaging group, is working on the capability of audit, checklist, and then certification. So this is in process, and this is something that will be coming up. There is another question from Mara that how we are sure that we have received all the files of a shipment. This is business process related questions. When you have a flight manifest, it indicates all the shipments loaded on that flight, and if you have all the corresponding XFWBs, then it means you have received all the files.
Yeah.
Okay, then I think we have covered all the questions. I would like to thank you, Carol, for your support, and thank you very much everyone for your time today. We will send you a link to provide the feedback on this webinar, and based on your feedback we will decide if we need to continue these kind of webinars. Thank you very much. Goodbye.
Thank you, sir.
Okay. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.